Hi, and welcome to this Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to use watercolour pencils to colour a t-shirt. We will be using the mixed media aquarelles and inks in red and also in green. I'm using the Essentials Black Pitt Artist Pen as an outliner and also the Pitt Artist Pens in yellow. We will also be using the Stampers Big Brush Pen in pink madder and the Penny Black stamp set Petal Party. To begin, take a cotton white t-shirt. I've drawn a template of my design on a scrap piece of paper as a guide. I'll also be using this on my t-shirt as a template. First of all, I place a foam pad in between the front and the back of the t-shirt. This stops the colours from bleeding through and helps make a crisp image on the stamping process. Once I have done this, I then cut out the heart shape from my template. I place it on my t-shirt and then I use the cutout as a sample to guide where to do the stamping. I then take my flower from the Petal Party set, and you can see here I've already created some post-it note masks. I'm then going to stamp the image using Versacraft black ink. Ink the stamp well, taking care not to get any ink on the acrylic block edges, as you don't want it to transfer to your t-shirt. If you do get any slight marks in places where you don't want them, very likely you can rub them off with water before you have set the image. Then take your post-it note mask, place it over the image, and take the leaf from the same set again. Ink it up and then stamp onto your t-shirt. If you don't want the leaves to overlap at all, you can also use masks on the leaves. Here you can see I'm cleaning round where I've got some excess ink on the acrylic block. And here you can see the first flower that has been done, as in the template. So complete this for your whole design. Once you have done this, you then need to set it by ironing it, the details of which are shown on the back of the ink pad. We can now begin to colour with our aquarelle watercolour pencils. I'm using 119 here, and I'm colouring from the outside edge in. You press fairly firmly with the pencil to get the pigment to go onto the t-shirt. Repeat this process all the way round all the flowers. I will just show a couple of petals here for speed. I'm then going to use 125, colour slightly further in from the petal, working towards the centre. As you can see here, a slightly darker shade is now laid down on the petal. Finally, go in with 126 and colour from the centre out slightly towards the outer side of the petal. So recreate this all the way round all your petals on all your flowers. Once you have done this, you can then use an acrylic medium for fabric. This one is made by Luminart and works not only with acrylics but also with the watercolour pencils. Dip your paintbrush into the Luminart liquid and then brush and blend the colours of the pencil together onto the fabric. You may find that you will get some bleeding as the ink from the pencil actually pulls out towards the edge of the petals. I'm not worried about this happening because I'm seeking a tie-dyed effect, but I will explain at the end of the video how to avoid this if you want a crisper finish. As you can see here, I'm blending in with the liquid. I've not used any water at all on the watercolour pencils. Then take my Stamper's big brush pen and roughly colour in the leaves. I'm not worrying about going all the way to the edge because this will blend out soon. I then take my paintbrush and I dip it in water this time and gradually spread the ink out around the leaves. Sorry, I'll move this up so you can see a bit clearer. You can see that the ink is beginning to spread. I'm actually wanting the ink to go beyond the leaf outline itself so that I get a tie-dyed effect, but to avoid any hard lines I'm just brushing it and dabbing with a tissue to soften the edges. I'm then going to use my big brush Madder Pink marker and I'm just going to colour in lightly from the centre of the petals outwards to add a bit more colour. Again, I'm going to go in with my Luminart liquid and just blend the edges in of that so that it's not such harsh lines. Once this is done, I'm then going to colour in the centre. I'm using 105 Aquarelle. I colour directly onto the fabric and again go back in with my Luminart liquid. As this lightens the yellow quite a bit, I then go over it again to intensify the colour. And again just set in with the Luminart liquid. To add a bit of extra shading to the centre, I'm then taking my Pitt Artist pens and just dotting a bit of extra colour in. As I'm doing this whilst it's wet, the dots will spread out and blend easier. I repeat this process until the whole t-shirt has been coloured and I then leave it to dry. Once it has dried, I can then go back in and add more colour to add to the vibrancy. You can see I'm going back in here with the pencils and again I'll use the Luminart to set the colour. Once this is dry, I then take a piece of Frisk film and cut it into a heart shape to put round the edge of my flowers. I also cut templates from Frisk to mask off each of the individual flowers. This has then prepared the piece ready for airbrushing. I'm going to use the May Green Big Brush Stampers pen and I'm going to place some ink onto a craft sheet. I'm applying a generous amount because I want the colour to be quite dark. Once I have done this, I'm then going to spritz it with water and create a watery ink liquid. Once I've done this, I can then pour it into my airbrush pot. To this I'm going to add some simple solution. I roughly use a 50-50 mix. I'm then ready to airbrush and I just apply with light brushing motion to the actual design until I get the desired effect and colour that I want to achieve. Once this is complete, I then leave it to dry. I want my flowers to stand out more, so I'm going to use the Pitt Black Artist pen. I'll just zoom in here a bit so as you can see better. And I'm just going to outline the petals, the dotted detailing on the petals, and the dots around the centre of the flower. Sorry, my hand's getting in the way a bit here, but hopefully you can see the principle. Once you have done this, you can then take the green pen, and I'm going to outline and put some detailing on the edge. I'm going to pop a few little crosses here. And then I'm going to do 3 wavy lines. This way I don't have to worry about getting them straight. I'll now show you an example where I haven't used the tie-dye effect. On this one, after stamping, I've applied the Luminart liquid directly to the stamped image and left it to dry before I begin colouring. For the petals on this one, I've used the gelatos. I've shaved off some of the gelatos, mixed it with the Luminart liquid, and painted the petals from the outside edges in. To get the darker centres, I've applied the gelato directly to the petals and then brushed over the top with Luminart liquid to set. Again, I leave it to dry and treat in exactly the same way. This item has actually now been washed about 20 times and has still kept its colour. For the first wash, you must wash it in cold water, and then after that you can wash it in the machine at 30 degrees and it shouldn't fade. Thank you for watching. For further inspiration, please visit my blog at candronicocardcraft.blogspot.co.uk.